record. Hello and welcome. If you're looking for the webinar on anxiety, depression and PTSD resolved in 3 sessions, is it possible? You're in the right place. Let me introduce myself. My name is Judith Richards, and I'm the creator of the Richards Trauma Process, or TRTP. And I'll be talking, how we're going to run this is I'll talk for about 40 minutes and explain how, why we can resolve anxiety, depression, PTSD in 3 sessions, how it works, the physiology of trauma, first of all, because we have to understand that in order to understand how to resolve it. And then there'll be 20 minutes where you can ask questions. So in that chat bubble, so squiggle your cursor at the bottom of the screen. For those who've just come in, there'll be a chat bubble that comes up. Click on that. A bar will open at the right-hand side of your screen and you can ask questions in there. So I'll rave on for a bit and then I'll answer questions. I'll try and get all the questions answered. If perhaps at the end there are some questions that I don't get to, I will call you or email you during the week and answer those. So welcome. As I said, this webinar is on anxiety, depression, PTSD, resolved in 3 sessions. Is it possible? Yes, it is. And in fact, TRTP practitioners have been doing that all around Australia today. So let us begin in earnest. Let's look at how do we do this? And as I said, in order to understand how TRTP does that, TRTP comes from a different model, and I'll be explaining that. But first, let's go to the physiology of trauma. What happens? First of all, though, let's take away the word trauma, can we? Because a lot of people, they hear the word trauma and they think war, they think refugees, they think torture, they think catastrophic events like Black Summer of bushfires. But it can be so much less than that. If we replace the word trauma with the phrase distressing events, it gives us a much clearer and broader view. So, it can be bullying, it can be humiliation, it can be harassment. Just today, I heard of a 12-year-old girl, extremely suicidal, violent acting out. Why? Because of terrible bullying at school from the other girls and online. So this is a family in extreme crisis with this little girl. So it doesn't have to be war. Some schools are war zones, some playgrounds are war zones, some families, I won't call them families, some houses, they're not even homes, are war zones. Some workplaces are war zones. So trauma can come in all different shapes and sizes. If we call it distressing events, we get a better idea, a better take on it. Okay, so let me go to the graph and what happens physiologically. I'm just going to share screen here and a whiteboard, and bear with me because it's a bit tricky drawing on this. I ask for your patience. Okay, so I'm going to draw on here. Let's talk about a normal person, if such a thing exists. They operate here at calm. They go along. They're at calm. Their system is quite calm. They have a distressing event. They release stress hormones. The event passes. And without having to go on a yoga retreat or meditate on top of a mountain, their body recalibrates and brings them back to calm. They have a life-threatening event. They come up here to fight, flight, freeze. And their body just naturally recalibrates. And this is key. This is a normal, balanced system. This is key. What happens is sometimes that switch to recalibrate gets turned off. And what happens instead is the whole system, the whole person stays up here, continually retriggering fight, flight, and freeze. So what's behind this fight, flight, freeze? What's going on in the person's being? What's going on is everything in their being is screaming, I'm not safe. And why is it doing that? We'll talk about that in a moment. See, and so this, of course, this high state here of fight, flight, freeze is typical of PTSD. But it can also be high anxiety, peaking in panic attacks. It can also be garden variety anxiety that goes up and down and all around the place. So all of that, PTSD and anxiety, PTSD, of course, being an anxiety issue. What's behind anxiety? What's behind anxiety is the whole being screaming, I'm not safe, therefore we catastrophize. We get ready for anything that's possibly going to happen because our whole being is thinking something bad is about to happen because I'm not safe. Now, why are we in that state of I'm not safe? And this is key to the model for TRTP. Because what happens is we have a distressing event, we release stress hormones, the amygdala fires, we release stress hormones, adrenaline, cortisol, etc. And the systems that we don't need in order to run from the tiger, things like digesting breakfast, digestion gets shut down, doing higher maths, frontal lobe gets shut down, and the event passes. All the energy is sent to the big muscles, so we're ready for fight or flight. So anxiety is a hyperaroused state of fight or flight. Now, what about depression? Depression is the shutdown state of freeze. So we have fight, flight, and freeze. What happens in depression? It's the same thing. The whole being has gone into that I'm not safe, so gone into the freeze response. Everything slows down. Instead of the hyperaroused state of anxiety with fight and flight, it's a shutdown state of freeze. Everything slows down. Heart rate slows down. In anxiety, everything's up. Heart rate is up. Respiration is up. Depression, everything shuts down. But what's behind anxiety is the same as what's behind depression. And that is, I'm not safe. So what TRTP does is it moves the person from I'm not safe to it's over and I'm safe now. This is key. This is key. It's over. And I'm safe now. When we return somebody from I'm not safe to it's over and I'm safe now, this wonderful button turns back on and we are able to recalibrate after stressful events. The symptoms, because that's what they are, the symptoms of anxiety, depression, PTSD simply disappear because symptoms is what they are. Anxiety is not the issue. Depression is not the issue. What is the issue is the system thinking, I'm not safe, I'm not safe, All we have to do is return that person to it's over and I'm safe now, and the symptoms simply disappear. So I'm going to share something else. So as I was saying, what happens is we have a distressing event. The amygdala fires, the emergency services in the brain, the adrenaline, the cortisol kick in, energy and circulation are sent to the large muscles. So we are ready for fight or flight. The gut shuts down. We don't need to digest. The frontal lobe shuts down. We don't need to do higher maths. The other thing that shuts down at that point in a lot of people is the hippocampus that's responsible for long-term memory. That's responsible for, okay, the event is over. So the hippocampus stores that memory in the warehouse of memory and shuts the door and walks away. Well, that's over. Let's move on. In a balanced system, that's what happens. The person has gone up to fight, flight, freeze. The event is over. The whole body recalibrates, the whole being recalibrates and comes back to calm. It's over and we move on. But in a system that's knocked off balance, what happens is the hippocampus doesn't play. The hippocampus stays shut down. And where that memory is stored then is not in the warehouse of memory and the door shut and that's over. Instead, it gets stored in the subconscious. It's happening now, it's happening now, it's happening now. It's never brought to an end. It's never put away in memory. And the subconscious runs every chemical reaction, every electrical response in the body. And so the body continues to react, to respond as if that event is happening now. And what happens when you get a number of these events? I'll just share screen again. And we'll go there. We'll get rid of this amazing drawing. So let's look at someone's life journey. And when they were 3, something horrendous happened. Sorry, that's the wrong one. Something horrendous happened. And it gets stored as a video tape loop. Let's look at this poor 12-year-old girl. So there was this big event with those girls. And then there was this online event. And then there were things that happened before then. And then there were the small events. And when I was 5 and when I was 7 and in an older person, all these events through each decade. And what happens is the distress builds up like the pressure in a balloon. And eventually it blows out. And for some people, it will blow out into anxiety. For others, it'll blow out into depression. For others, it will blow out into chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, lupus. Van der Kolk talks about the connection between trauma and these immuno disorders. If it's a horrific, catastrophic event, the person may blow out into PTSD. All we have to do is reduce the pressure in the balloon. Turn off the 3 or 4 main distressing events. Return them into memory. Turn the hippocampus on so that it stores those events in memory and shuts the door on them. And the symptoms of anxiety, depression, PTSD, etc., simply disappeared, including chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, etc. Let's look at what happens when someone gets PTSD. Let's look at some of the studies done on twins. So you have 2 twins going to war. One, they have very similar experiences. One comes back with PTSD and one doesn't. Why is that? And the reason why it is because one twin has more of these videotape loops. They've had more experience of distressing events that haven't been stored properly in memory and the door shut. So they're still running in the system. So the pressure in the balloon is already high. The other twin who doesn't get PTSD, the pressure in the balloon, the number of those events stored in the subconscious, as if they're happening now, are very small. But for the twin who's had a fair bit of trauma distress before going to war, they'll have these major experiences and they'll blow out into PTSD. So people who have a history of distressing events are much more likely to blow out into PTSD. Does that make sense? So distressing, the anxiety, depression, etc., are not the issue. They are a symptom of a system that is under too much pressure and it blows out. When you put enough pressure on an organism, something has to give. And so that's what happens. So how do we deal with this with TRTP? Well, as I said, this trauma is stored in the subconscious, like videotape loops. Doesn't it make sense to deal with these distressing events, these traumas, where they're stored in the subconscious? You see, the conscious mind, and if I just share screen again, let's look at the mind and how it works. If we take this big area of this screen as the mind, and if we look at, okay, here's the conscious mind. The conscious mind. We think that this is where it's all happening. That's the controller. Well, no, science has proven that the conscious mind only works 5 to 10% of the day. The rest of the time, we're being driven by the subconscious, and the subconscious is taking up all of this space. So what happens is if someone makes conscious decision, for example, I want to be well. Well, that's great. But if the subconscious is going, no, it's not safe for you to be well, because if you're well, you'll be out in the world, and being out in the world is not a safe place. We know that. So I will do whatever is required to keep you out of the world, with panic attacks, with agoraphobia, with social anxiety, with chronic fatigue, whatever it is. So what we do with TRTP is we change that subconscious programming. We get the conscious mind and the unconscious, the subconscious mind, in sync, in agreement, first of all, because it doesn't matter what therapy that you're going into, it doesn't matter what surgery you're going into or pharmaceuticals you're going into. If the conscious mind goes, yes, I want to be well, and the subconscious mind goes, no, you're dreaming, not going to happen, and the subconscious runs every chemical reaction, every electrical response in the body, well, who's going to win? It's going to be like pushing the proverbial uphill to work with that person towards wellness, to get them to wellness. So the first thing we do in TRTP is we get the subconscious and the conscious mind in agreement. Everything that we do in TRTP, not everything, but most of TRTP works at that subconscious level, because that's where trauma is stored, these videotape loops and these programs. This is why CBT takes so long. Cognitive behavioral therapies work on this model, and I'll clear this. CBT works on change how you think, which will change how you feel, which will change your way of being, your behavior. TRTP, I call Ask About Therapy, because it changes the person, the client's experience of self, changes their being, their experience of being, which automatically changes their emotional state, how they feel, automatically changes how they think. So it's quite a different process, and it works with the subconscious, because the subconscious is the driver, not the conscious mind. So with TRTP, you don't need weeks of discipline and weeks of high motivation and weeks of coming back again and again. It's quick because we deal with the trauma where the trauma is stored, and that's in the subconscious. So how do we do that? Well, we speak to the subconscious in the language of the subconscious. And what's the language of the subconscious? The language of the subconscious is what we experience at night in dreams. It's what we experience when we daydream. The language of the subconscious is the imagination. And so we speak to the subconscious in the language of the subconscious in TRTP by having the client richly imagine various very particular scenarios that do a couple of things. Let's clear that. Van der Kolk, Levine, the top trauma experts agree that two things have to happen in order to resolve trauma. One, move the person to an empowered position in regard to the distressing event, in regard to the trauma. And two, tell the body that it's over. And I'll go further than that. And I'll say, tell the body and the subconscious it's over and I'm safe now. Now, this is key, because if you say with me out loud, or if you're in somewhere where you can't speak out loud, do it in your imagination. Say with me and note, just observe what happens in your body. Say with me out loud if you can, but in your imagination if you can't. Say after me, it's over, and say it with all that you are. It's over. And just observe how that feels in your body. And let's do it again. I'll say it, then you say it. It's over. And just once more. It's over. And just observe what happens in your body. Now, say after me, it's over. And I'm safe now. And just observe. Just feel that. And do it again after me. It's over. And I'm safe now. Just once more, really get into it. It's over. And I'm safe now. What do you observe? You can type in if you like. Is there a feeling there? Because it's over is very cognitive. It's very cerebral. Relief. Marion Kratz, thanks. Relief. Peaceful. Teresa, thank you. Sense of relief. Patricia, thank you. Nerida, peace. Yes. Confidence. Yes. Relief and calm. Thank you, Alison. Calm, relaxed. The out breath. Yes. Neil, that's really good. It's like a sigh, isn't it? It's over and I'm safe now. I'm safe now. There's resolution. It's over and I'm safe now. Phew. And Delara, thank you. Delara, lovely to talk to you today. Relief in my abdomen. So it's over is great, but it's very cognitive. It's very cerebral. It's over and I'm safe now. There's emotion. There is body. We feel it in our body. I felt someone in my throat and teeth. Thanks, Janice. Assured, says Julie. Yeah. So we take somebody from this hyper-aroused or shut down state, and I'll just quickly draw this again. From I'm not excuse my scribble, it's hard to draw on a screen vertically. We take someone from I'm not safe, we take them from this hyper-aroused state to it's over and I'm safe now. And that relief is so palpable. We take them from there to here. And there will still be stressful events. But this recalibration switch is returned. And it doesn't matter what happens. The being just comes back naturally. And so it goes. And the symptoms simply disappear. Samantha, decluttered, that's a good one, Patricia. Samantha, and this is done talking about the distressful event, is that correct? No. No, Samantha. What we do in TRTP is we do not re-traumatize. We do not re-traumatize. We do not get the client to talk about what happened, because in order to access a memory, we have to go back and live the memory. We have to be in it in order to describe it. Neuroscience 101 says if you continue to talk about something, more neurons will come and join the party. Did you know neurons actually move? They move and they join the neural pathway until it becomes a superhighway, until it's completely embedded, until it's just automatic. The more we talk about something, the more we embed it. Neuroscience 101. So in TRTP, no, we don't talk about the distressing event. We don't go back and revisit. We don't take the client back to the distressing event. We don't re-traumatize the client. We don't even get a life history. We give clients homework before they come for session 1. And in that homework, they just have to, in dot point form, list the top 10 to 12 most distressing events, the age they were, the name of the event, and who was there. That's it. The top 10 to 12 most distressing events. We don't say, what were the traumas? No, what were the most distressing events? You know, it could be anything. You know, when the local kids wouldn't let me play with them. And that gives you the pattern. That gives you the pattern of that person's life. It could be bullying, it could be abuse, it could be abandonment, betrayal, sickness, accident. But that pattern will be very, very obvious. For a lot of clients, it's a big aha moment when they realize it's the same thing again and again, just different people. So what we do in session 1 is we change, you know how I said we get the subconscious and the conscious in sync. So that pattern, if it's bullying, we know that that person took on the beliefs, the subconscious core beliefs when they were little. They're programming that causes that re-victimization. Things like, I don't matter. I deserve to suffer. I deserve to be punished. I'm going to swear, so just brace yourself. I'm shit and I deserve to be treated like shit. So even before we're born, we're taking on ideas of who we are, where we fit in the world, whether we're safe. And then we're born, and for some people, that's a life-threatening event. And some are born into less than celebration. And for those of us lucky enough to be born into celebration, stuff still happens, no matter how hard our parents try. And we take on these ideas of people in authority, like the grade 1 teacher who says you'll never amount to anything, you're stupid. Like the parent who says you should never have been born, you were a mistake. And it doesn't even have to be that bad. You know, it can be, it's not safe to succeed. It's not safe to have success. It's not safe to be seen and heard, because if I stand out, if I'm outstanding, I'll just be shot down. So I have to be invisible and quiet, invisible and mute in order to be safe. And so you're working with a client to help them to success, and they're not going to get there. You know, it can be anyone who's supposed to love me is going to abandon me, is going to hurt me, is going to betray me. You might be a relationship specialist. And if your couple in front of you, if they've got these sort of programs that it's not safe to love or be loved, because everyone who's supposed to love me is going to hurt me, is going to abandon me, is going to betray me. Well, the conscious mind, that little 5% might be going, yes, I'm going to make this relationship really work. But the subconscious is going, no, I'm going to get you out of here as quickly as possible because it's not safe. It's not safe to love or be loved. And so there'll be subconscious sabotage. That's why we sabotage in love, in success, in life itself. It's extraordinary that we manifest those things that we believe subconsciously to be true, like I don't matter, I deserve to suffer and be punished. So what we do in session 1 is we change these negative subconscious core beliefs to the positive, so that the subconscious and the conscious mind are in sync, so that we've got a clean slate, so there'll be no self-sabotage going forward. The biggest one that we get fixed is it's safe to be well. It's time to be well. So we do that in session 1. Session 2 is where the rubber meets the road. Session 2 is the big one. Session 2 is where we turn off those videotape loops, and we only have to turn off the top 3. The others just turn off automatically. It's like a 4-legged table. You take one leg out and the table cannot stand. So at the end of section 2, the issues of anxiety, depression, whatever, they just disappear. And Patricia's saying, what are the 3 homework points again? The age you were, the name of the event, and who was there. That's it. So we give a template. There's not a lot of room. We say we don't want an essay. We just want dot points. Age, name of event, who was there. For example, the soldier. 26, the convoy bomb my team. We don't need the story. That's all we need. And we move the person to an empowered position in regard to that. We don't relive it. We don't have them go in and rewrite it. But there's a particular thing we do. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I know everyone wants to know what it is, but I'm not going to tell you. The reason for that is that early on, I used to tell people exactly what we did. And a little bit of knowledge is a really dangerous thing. And I was very distressed when I heard that people were going and using that little bit of knowledge and re-traumatizing people, not because you need proper training to do this. Session 1, Suzanne, session 1 gets the subconscious and the conscious mind in agreement. We ascertain, we get the homework from the client. We look at what are the patterns, is it bullying, abuse, betrayal, abandonment, illness, accident? What's the pattern? And when we see the pattern, we can tell exactly what are the subconscious core beliefs that are running that pattern. What's the subconscious core beliefs running that re-victimization, for example, in bullying and abuse? And the second session, we turn off those videotape loops. So just to give you an idea of how effective this is, a psychiatrist rang me a little while ago and said, I'm calling you because I've been working with this patient for over 9 years, seeing him every fortnight. He has extremely severe complex PTSD, and I hospitalize him half the time to keep him alive. And I'm ringing you because he's just left my rooms for our normal fortnightly appointment. And in the fortnight since I last saw him, he went to one of your students, not even a graduate, a student, had your 3 sessions and is now completely well. And if I didn't know him well enough to know what he has for breakfast, I wouldn't believe it. I've just witnessed a miracle. This is impossible. I'm a name, I'm published, I'm a PTSD expert. I present at conferences all around the world. And I know this is impossible, but I've just witnessed it with my own eyes. So I obviously don't know what I'm doing. I better come and find out what it is that you're doing. because it's miraculous. You know, the guy with over 100 personalities who at the end of the second session, the spokesperson for the personalities, and the psychotherapist working with this gentleman didn't work with the personalities, just worked on the dreadful things that had happened that caused all these splits. And at the end of the second session, the spokesperson said to the client, Jim, you know what? It's over and we're safe now. And it's over and you're safe now. You don't need to hear from us anymore. And we're fine. We are so good. You've got this. Thanks for the journey. It's going to be great. That was, I don't know, 18, 20 months ago. We're waiting 2 years before we publish that case study. But he hasn't heard from those personalities. He's been fine, integrated since then. So that's what happens. You see extraordinary things. You see the Parkinson's-like tremor of extreme PTSD stop and not come back. You know, the flashbacks, because what flashbacks are in PTSD, I just find this fascinating. I don't know about you, but I'm going to tell you anyway, because I think it's fascinating. So what flashbacks are, you know, those videotape loops of all the dreadful events? They're always running in the subconscious. They only break through up into the conscious mind in extreme PTSD in the form of a flashback, which is a relived event. It's not a memory, it's a relived event. It's happening now. It's happening now. Do you get it? In anxiety, in depression, it's still there, but it's just those videotape loops are still there. They're just not breaking through into the conscious mind. It's fascinating stuff, isn't it? So and then in the third session, what we do is we just do a mop-up, make sure everything's done, and create the future, because a lot of people who are shut down in anxiety and depression, they're not future focused. In PTSD, you're not future focused. You're just trying to get through the flipping day. So that's what we do. So the outcomes are extraordinary. We did an audit a couple of years ago on 715 clients. We do a DAS, you know, depression, anxiety, stress scale, session 1, session 3, and a month down the track. And we got someone outside, a clinical doctor of clinical psychology in Sydney, who lectures at one of the universities there on psychology. He did the statistics, had nothing to do with us. He's completely separate. So 89% of people with extremely severe depression went to normal. 92% of extremely severe anxiety went to normal. 96% of extremely severe stress went to normal. He was so amazed that he came and did the training. He's now a TRTP practitioner. Gorgeous man. So what technique, Deborah, what technique do you use to turn off the sabotage narrative? Well, it's part of TRTP. It's something that I developed to do that. And it's very quick. So it's not a technique that you'll find anywhere else. Samantha, are the 3 sessions done in weekly sessions? Well, they can be. Like that psychiatrist, the guy had 3 sessions over 2 weeks. Generally, just because it works that way, weekly is fine. And the sessions are longer. Can I just tell you, they're an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. We say allow 2 hours. They naturally fall into 2 parts. So if you're doing the therapeutic hour, you can do session 1, part A on Monday and part B the next day, Tuesday. And then the next week, session 2, part A Monday, part B Tuesday. Are you using the body? Let's talk about using the body. We'll do that in a moment. Hypnotherapy. Are you using techniques that come from other modalities, or is this really all brand new? There are bits that, I remember the first course I taught, the first group, there was a psychiatrist, a PTSD trauma specialist in that group. And she actually went through and analyzed every bit. And those few lines are Gestalt, and that little bit is ego state therapy. And that's this, and it's just little bits. That's not what I did. I didn't bring that bit and that bit. I just did what was logical. That psychiatrist, by the way, cleared her books in 5 weeks during the 8-week training. and the receptionists in the big medical center where she worked actually sent a delegation to ask her, what are you prescribing now? Is it legal, and are we implicated by being on the premises? Because we've been seeing some of your patients coming for years and years, and now they're walking out well. So what are you giving them? And is there going to be a police bust? So interesting, isn't it? Are you using hypnotherapy? Well, if you ask a hypnotherapy, what is hypnosis? A hypnotherapist, what is hypnosis? They'll say it's a trance state, a theta, deep theta brainwave state of complete physical body relaxation. And I'm saying to you, if you're working with someone with PTSD and you say to them, just relax, just close your eyes. First of all, close your eyes. Hello, if I've got extreme PTSD, I'm not going to close my eyes because I'm hypervigilant. Where's the danger? Where's the danger? Something's going to get me. Something's going to hit me. Something's going to kill me. Good luck with close your eyes and just relax the muscles on the back of your neck. It's not going to happen. My whole body is an extreme fight and flight all the time. It's like the accelerator and the brake, pedal to the metal 24/7 with no respite. That's extreme PTSD. So no, it's not that. How do you speak to the subconscious? In the language of the subconscious, you use 2 words. Just imagine. And with those 2 words, the cognitive facility steps aside. The critical facility, the cognitive mind, steps aside, and we can imagine whatever we like. In fact, we're going to do an imagination exercise in just a moment. Can your course be done online? Yes, Helen, the whole thing's online. Since COVID, we used to have a 3-day face-to-face workshop, and people would fly in from overseas and from all over Australia. We don't do that anymore, much to the relief of lots of people. So in this next one that's starting in February, we've got people from the States and people from all over the place. Live online is the 3-day workshop, and the rest of it is online or live online. We do lots of live online. What are the impacts of intergenerational trauma passed on through epigenetics? Lucy, they're massive. Massive, massive, massive. And with TRTP, we have a way that stops intergenerational trauma. I'll just say, I won't go into it. Are the tapping techniques? No. No tapping. How many therapists are there? I have trained, I started teaching mid-2014. That's when that psychiatrist came, that first small group. I have taught 300 and something practitioners. And this year, word has got out. So we are looking at doing 200 practitioners this year and many, many hundreds the following year. So let's talk about just imagine. You see, the extraordinary thing is that what we richly imagine, our body believes to be true. And I'll say that again because it's very important. What we richly imagine, our body believes. Our body and our subconscious believes that it's true. So for example, just a very simple one, if you imagine that you've got this, you've just cut this wedge of really juicy lemon, there is so much juice. And you know what you're going to do? You're going to stick your teeth in it. And it's so sour. And there's so much juice. My body is responding as if that actually happened. I have no lemon, but because I richly imagined it, I have the saliva response in a very major way. And lots of you will have the same response with your mirror neurons. You'll have mirrored me and you'll probably get that response. But let's do something really cool just to show that the body and the subconscious. So when you say, do you use the body, Holly, only in as much as the body believes what we richly imagine and the subconscious believes what we richly imagine. So put your hands together like so and have a look at that middle finger. Most people have one of those middle fingers a little longer than the other. You can see mine. This one's a smidge longer than that one. Some people have them exactly the same, but have a look and determine which one is the short one, which one is the long one. The long one Rest it on your lap. The short one, hang it down by the side of your chair. If you're on a lounge chair or something, just put it beside you. And we're going to do an imagination exercise. So here are those magic words. Just imagine. Now I'm going to bring my hand up to show you what to do, but leave yours hanging down beside you. So just imagine you've got a small weight on that middle finger of that short-fingered hand that's hanging down. And you can feel the traction. It actually feels quite good. It's not hurting, just a small weight. And what's happening is it's pulling down and down. And your finger, you can actually get a sense that your finger is getting longer. It's lengthening. This weight is making your finger stretch and stretch. You get a sense that it's just getting longer, slowly, longer and longer and longer. You can feel it. And now imagine that there's two weights. It doesn't hurt, but you're feeling it now all up into your forearm. You can feel this weight. So stretch out that finger, that middle finger, because there's two weights on it now. Whoa, feel that right up into your forearm. And you can feel that middle finger just getting longer. And it feels quite good, doesn't it? That stretching out. Your finger getting longer and longer. And still longer. Feel it. Feels quite good, doesn't it? As it gets longer. And now, there's a third weight. It's not hurting, but boy, you wouldn't want it much heavier than this. And that finger is just stretching right out, getting longer and longer. Feel it. Feels a bit weird. As you can feel it just getting longer and longer. And now bring your hands up and have a look. Put your hands together and have a look at your fingers. You can see with mine, the short one is now longer. So type in what's happened. Has anything happened? Anyone see anything? Anyone notice anything about their fingers? Deborah Gould, no! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Longer, Suzanne. Longer, Helen Buckle. Yay. Same length now. Good on you, Janice. No, Michelle's got nothing. Same. And we only are doing this in a very short, it might sound weird, my finger is blue. So is mine, Delara. It's a weird thing that happens. Equal length now, a bit longer. Yay, longer, longer. Teresa, Amanda, thank you for putting that in. It was a very quick little exercise. If we'd taken it longer, it would have had more impact. But just an exercise. This is how people are able to imagine away tumors and disease states. I myself have used this imagination technique to fix hydrocephalus. For those, yes, exactly, Delara, as if there was a weight hanging from it and it made it blue. I used this imagination exercise to fix my own hydrocephalus. For those who don't know what hydrocephalus is, you've got fluid in your spine, it bathes the brain, and with hydrocephalus it goes into the brain but it doesn't come out, so the pressure in the brain builds and builds and you start having seizures and stuff. And then anyway, so I fixed it in a week. So it's extraordinary what you can do. Have you helped patients with severe health anxiety? Yes, Sishama. The health anxiety is a symptom. It's not the issue. All you have to do is reduce all that pressure in the balloon, turn off the videotape loops, and speak directly to the subconscious. Say, stop it. Similar to some NLP. Yes, Neil. So that's just shows you. In TRTP, we don't use visualization. We don't say to a client, visualize this. We say, richly live this. The richer you make your internal experience, the more profound will be your outcome. Obviously, we're not doing finger lengthening. We're doing turning off videotape loops and changing everything. How would it help someone with chronic pain? Marion Kratz, on YouTube, and I'll write it in here, YouTube, it's TRTP, the Richards Trauma Process channel. If you type that into YouTube, did that come up? No. You'll see videos, webinars like this. I often do webinars with our practitioners. So for example, there was one on chronic pain and trauma, Marion. So that was with Dr. Dinah Hastie's, one of our practitioners. She's an anaesthetist who's also a pain specialist. And also on that webinar was Carol Young, who's a physiotherapist who basically wrote the book on physiotherapy rehabilitation. So that's a good one to go and look at, because when the doctors say that there's no reason for the body still to be in pain, the body is healed, the bones have healed, the nerves have healed, the muscles have healed, there shouldn't be pain. And still there is, for example, in chronic regional pain syndrome and other syndromes. What's happening, and it will make sense to you, is the videotape loop is going all the time. I'm in the car accident now. I'm being cut out of the car now. I think I'm dying now. This is happening now. All you have to do is turn off that videotape loop and tell the body and the subconscious, hey, it's over. And you're safe now. It's now this date. It's not that date when the accident happened, and your body has healed. And guess what happens? The pain disappears. That's different from if there is pain from a disease state or an actual mechanical injury. So it works brilliantly when the doctors say there's no reason for it. So there we are. So there are other ways for people to recover from traumatic events, such as somatics, focusing, that can work quickly. What makes TRTP better or faster, or is this only another way? It's another way. I don't know who that is. JA is all I can see. Janice. The thing is that TRTP, show me, if you can show me a process that can have someone recover, be completely well from extremely severe complex PTSD in just a couple of sessions, come and teach me. If you can show me a process that can have someone integrate over 100 personalities by the end of the second session, come and show me. Is it long lasting? Yes, I used to work with homicidal psychopaths. No, not homicidal psychopaths. Very angry men who are hell-bent on killing their ex and the children and the new boyfriend, and they'd be brought against their will. And within at the end of that first session, within an hour and a half to 2 hours, everybody would be safe. I have followed those men for 8 years, and they've never had one outburst. They've had irritation, frustration, but not that absolute rage, lit match at petrol rage, that unconscious rage. Not because they've learned how to deal with their anger, no, because their rage has simply disappeared. Their pain has disappeared, and hurt people, take away their hurt, they stop hurting people. So if you can show me a process that does that, I'm up for learning it. Does it work with people who are dealing with a present trauma, deteriorating medical condition, Parkinson's? For many of them, yes, Nina, I'd have to know more about it. I've had some amazing results using RET and EMD, also IFS. Yes, Neil. I've taught psychiatrists who use EMDR a lot. And what they say in terms of getting the highly traumatized person to the point of being fully resourced can take up to 9 years. Yeah, and we just work, and you have to work across the board, not just on one trauma, but on lots of traumas. Could you expand on richly lived this? Well, you know, if you imagine just watching yourself sucking on a piece of lemon, not a lot's going to happen. But if you richly imagine it, doing it yourself here, it's a different thing. Thanks, Janice. Does it work with CRPS? Yes. Renee, chronic regional pain syndrome. Yes. Are you going to tell us the price of your training today? Because I need to go. Oh, Holly. Okay, so the training program, lots of people are asking about the training. The training is an 8-week program. It begins with you being allocated a mentor. And that mentor will do session 1 and session 2, the guts of TRTP, with you. TRTP is just as effective online as face-to-face. So you can use it anywhere, you know, you can have clients anywhere. So they do that. Then, and that mentor will hold your hand through the 8 weeks of the training. They're an experienced member of our teaching team. Then there's 8 weeks. The first 3 weeks, you learn about session 1, and that's online, watch a few videos, do a quiz, that sort of thing. And then there's a 3-day workshop where we go right into the guts of it. After that 3-day workshop, you work with your own clients, with your mentor advising you. And there's a 2-hour video conference call, virtual classroom with me every week for 5 weeks, where we grow the information. Alison, what support is available after TRTP training? Well, the 8 weeks is actually just the beginning. You're just getting started. At the end of the 8 weeks, we don't say goodbye. You go into our TRTP practitioner community. The ethos, the culture of that community is one of generosity, kindness, and egos left at the door. Anyone who does not fit that culture, we actually show them the door. So we guard our community. It's a very safe place. There's a forum online where you can put tricky cases, and lots of people, including the teaching team, including myself, will come and advise you online on that forum. There's a 1-hour professional development call every week, a Zoom meeting, not a Zoom webinar, a Zoom meeting. There is a membership area where I've broken down all of TRTP into about 80 videos, going from 3 minutes to 20 minutes. The support is extraordinary and broad. So people, all our practitioners just rave about the best thing is actually the support afterwards, because not just left to get on with it. Brief work with families, could this be helpful? Do you need to do ongoing work? It's the 3 sessions. So if you're interested in, I'm just going to put up a link. If you're interested in making an appointment, the first thing to do if you're interested in the training is to have a look at the website, the richardstraumaprocess.com. And I'm just going to share screen with you now. And there's a book now. Let me go here. Can you see this? There's a book now. You see where my cursor is? Link here. It's a red button. If you click on that for a few free Q&A session, that just means ring us up and have we'll ring you and have a conversation. And here's the calendar. So you just make a time that's available for you, and we'll have a conversation and see if you're a match for us. We don't accept everyone who applies because TRTP is not for everybody. It's not for everybody. TRTP requires the practitioner to take a leadership position in regard to the client, and some people only want to work collaboratively, and TRTP is not collaborative. It is saying to a client, I know exactly what to do. All you need to do is follow my instructions, and I will take you to the other side of your pain. So it's not collaborative. A link. Here we go. Copy. Yes, here's a link. Renee, here we go. There's a link. Have you got that? The richardstraumaprocess.com/book an appointment. Can you see that? Oh, all panelists. Just a second, I'll put it again. And I'm going to make it to everybody. All panelists and attendees. Yes. Can you see that? The training, sorry, the price is $6,975. There's an early bird discount. There's payment plans. For that, you get session 1 and session 2. You get the 8 weeks of the training. You have your mentor hold your hand during that training, and you get 4 months membership of the community of TRTP practitioners. After that, it's about $7 a week for all that support. And when there's not COVID, in capital cities, we meet together, face to face. When are you running it after February, says Rhonda? May. In May, Rhonda. We'll be running it in May after February. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. Thanks for all you do in your own work. You know, the reality is, people, that what we're doing is not fast enough. There are people dying every day. There are people being turned away from our emergency departments every day and going and topping themselves. Our mental health organization, the mental health industry is not working. Have you noticed? We need something that's fast, effective, and long lasting. So TRTP, our end point is to change how mental health is done. And to this end, we have within our community academics who are taking our research. We are looking at partnering with Phoenix. We're talking to them at the moment, Phoenix, Australia, with the Medical Department at Melbourne University. So we will change how mental health is done. It's not just some little process. There's a revolution. If you believe what I believe, that the status quo must be pushed and that we must do better, if this resonates with you, make an appointment and let's have a conversation. Thank you, and go gently. Go well. I wish you every good thing in 2021. Thanks for being here. You'll receive an email with that link after this. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Bye.